That time once again, DeShaun Tate, the final buzzer here with you guys, kind of doing our little typical recap that you know that we always do. Episode, I guess, if you want to be technical, number 84. Love that number 84. That would be the year that this guy was born. Appreciate everybody for jumping in. Again, the final buzzer with DeShaun Tate. You guys know that we do this each and every single night. 15 minutes after the final game of the evening concludes, to kind of recap and talk about all the games that took place on that night. So before I get ready to bring in our guest, because, yep, we got a guest that's going to be joining us in the locker room to break down some of these matchups, trying to keep it somewhere around 20 minutes, give or take. Always kind of going up against that TNT stuff, but I like to think that I got a different kind of show on my hands for you guys, especially on the night. Tate's Take Hoops on the social media, on all social media platforms. TATESTAKEHOOPS. Hashtag where basketball lives. And this is kind of somewhat, if you're new to this, kind of like an extension of what we like to call the best, the most entertaining, the most educational, and the most informational basketball content on the planet in the form of a podcast. That being Tate's Take. Feel free to go and subscribe anywhere that you find your favorite podcast. Also streaming live on YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, as well as on Facebook. So without further ado, get my dude to come up in here because, I like to keep me a couple guests on deck, man, at all times. So let me bring him in right now. From the green room, there go my dude right there, Raphael Haynes, owner of 3-Point Conversion Media. Find him on Twitter as well as on the IG or on the gram or whatever the cool kids is calling it nowadays. At Mr. Controversy 21, that is at MRCONTROVERSEY 21. I've always been good at spelling bee contests, and or I guess technically I'm kind of cheating because I can read it right there below at the bottom of the ticker. Mr. Raphael, Mr. Haynes, Mr. 3-Point Conversion, Mr. Controversy. What's popping, bro? Appreciate you for joining me, Holmes.
What's going on, homie? Did you miss me?
Did you miss me? Hey, I love my boy do that. Did you miss me? Hey, man, I do appreciate you for jumping in here with me. And obviously, I want to start things off with first game of the night to kind of recap. I've got a plethora of notes somewhere around here. Don't think I'll be needing them very much. Of different things that I wrote down from, me and you both are in sharing in the space that is shared by the Atlanta Hawks in terms of media pregame, postgame press conferences and such. They closed them boys out. Let me go ahead and make sure that this might not look all that great optically, but we're going to do the best that we can here on the late night. There we go. Where the Hawks are now flying high, send the Knicks on vacation. 103-89 win, 4-1 now series win over the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden, hostile environment, all that kind of stuff. Now they're awaiting the Philadelphia 76ers. So what are just kind of some of your takeaways and things that you noticed within this series and or more importantly, closing them out on the night?
Get to the easy stuff. This was all about Trae Young. Trae Young finally hit the big stage. This is what he's been wanting since he came to the NBA. I mean, DeShaun, of course, like you said, we're in the locker rooms, we're in the press conferences, and just from the beginning when he came into the NBA, you knew he wanted to win. He wanted to win. People saw his stats. People try to equate him with just stats, but that's not Trae. Trae's always been about winning, always down, mad. I shouldn't say mad, but you could tell and just in his body language after a loss. And this is his rookie year. So the team was, let's be frank, horrible. Mm-hmm. So now he gets that chance, he gets that stage. He's been preaching that all preseason or before the season, I should say. And now he's here and you see him. And I mean, he did what he wanted to do. He did what he thought he was going to do. And he proved everybody wrong. And he showed why he was the Hawks' favorite. That's why the Hawks picked him. And we saw it tonight. It probably wasn't his best game, and not that he had a bad game. I'm just saying it wasn't his best game of the night, but of the series. But yet still, he's been consistent. He's probably been the most consistent player in the playoffs. And for him to average 29 and 9, I think tonight might have been the only night he didn't get 10 assists. I don't know. I got to look, but I know it's like 9.8 assists. So just from that, it's about Trae Young and, him leading that team. He grew up in these playoffs. He played better in these playoffs than he played in the regular season this season. So it's about Trae Young. But then you look at what Travis Link brought in. Some people doubted him. He didn't get the big superstar, but it worked. It worked. Not only that, even with tonight, just not everybody he brought in, but when they let go of Lloyd Pierce, that played a factor. Tonight it showed, okay, this is why they let him go. This is why they got Nate McMillan, or said, all right, Nate McMillan, you step up. And just the fact that they chose him, and I know it was Lloyd that wanted Nate McMillan to come on the squad and be an assistant coach, but that might have been the best transaction this season in the NBA, because you saw what it did, the way he's instilled confidence in them. He's taught them how to play. And again, man, with everybody else on the team believing, and everybody just played well together. So it was just a big night for the Hawks, just all in all.
Yeah, I was gonna say, a lot of what people are seeing from Trae Young, obviously, besides the fact that they're not watching many of the games that I can tell from, and not only that, but also there might be some reasons behind that, because unless you got that league pass and you're paying all that big money, you don't get a chance to see the Atlanta Hawks. I would imagine a lot of that is going to change as well going forward, putting them on national television and things of that nature and stuff like that. But I've been watching Trae. Me and you have talked about this. I've said this multiple times on my podcast. I've been watching this dude since he was essentially 16 years old. And watching him do some of the stuff that he's doing doesn't surprise me the least bit. He looks like the exact same guy. So what you're seeing, I've been seeing for the past like 5 years, where some people are like, oh, I might have seen it for like the last 2, 3 years. Well, I've been seeing it since high school, and it doesn't look much different. Now, what has improved, I believe, is the shot selection. That's just one of the things. But the Atlanta Hawks did something. I said this before, and I definitely want to make sure that I give them their flowers, because I'm not going to tell you that I had them winning in 5. I'm not going to tell you that I had them winning in 6. I had them winning in 7. Which I knew would be very difficult to duplicate, because you would be going back to Madison Square Garden with the hostile environment and everything else. But the reason I'm giving them the Flyers, because I said that they had to do this if they wanted to impress me. This is a market and a team that is not necessarily known for exceeding expectations, let alone meeting the expectations that is put in place for them. But they have a chip on their shoulder. They know what they have to do. They have been playing much better basketball, especially like you mentioned, and preferenced a little bit since Nate McMillan became the coach. But I know the kind of competitor Trae is, and it's not just Trae. You start looking at how much of a difference that how big of a difference that this team has looked ever since Clint Capella has gotten on this roster as well, and putting some of the guys that they acquired in free agency as well as in trades that are now healthy, that were not healthy throughout the duration of the season, and they're probably the deepest team in this playoffs. So I know I don't want to get too ahead of my skis. I know a lot of people are starting to kind of be like, I don't know, Philly might want to watch out, especially if Joel Embiid. And we're gonna get to that on a whole nother day. But I just kind of wanted to throw that out there, because that's gonna be another series to kind of look out for and whatnot. So that's that piece, and we got a couple other people that's kind of jumping in here a little bit as we're going to get ready to go over to the next game. We know this dude. We're very familiar with him. My dude, EP. My dude, Ed. What's good, man? Got the hand claps, man. Yeah, got the hand claps. We could tell that that's him clapping hands and not me clapping hands, because my hand clap emojis would look a whole lot more like, they look a whole lot more light skinned than that, bro. My dude, Derek Crush Boyd, who always chime in with us from time to time. Appreciate him. Overly thankful and grateful. Saying my Knicks choked, but I appreciate the effort they put up, and I look forward to more with this team and their coaching staff. So I don't know, they're gonna need a little bit more. Yo, what's popping?
I'm sorry. Can I say something? Just with a comment. I don't think the Knicks choked. This is why I had the Knicks losing in 6, and I even said maybe 5. And we saw it, and I know people are like, okay, you're saying it now because after the playoffs. No, I've been saying this from the beginning. They don't have any offense. Like, coming into the playoffs, I was like, yo, the Hawks should be heavily favored in this because they're healthy. As you mentioned, they're deep. Knicks, they don't have any offense. None at all. Now, I didn't think that Randall was going to lay an egg, but at the same time, they just don't have enough offense. And with Atlanta's offense, when they're healthy, and you're talking now, okay, Knicks have the best defense. I just still felt like the way Atlanta is constructed, they have shooters.
Yep.
They have a big man that can rebound, offensive rebound. He has great hands. John
Multiple of them.
Collins, yeah, both of them, right. And John Collins is athletic, but Trae Young, the fact that Trae Young can always get in the paint, and it's pick your poison. Either you're gonna let him
Pick
shoot
your poison.
teardrop, or he's gonna throw the lob or make a pass. Always, I've been saying this since the beginning of the season. So when they were faced up against the Knicks, even though the Knicks swept them, I didn't see the Knicks having a chance. I mean, and this is Coach Tibbs, man. Look, I'm originally from Chicago. I'm a natural Bulls fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tibbs built a team like this in Chicago. Now, let's give credit to Tibbs. He probably didn't know they were going to turn out to be this good, But still, in 2010-11, with Derrick Rose and MVP, you have Dane, who was a defensive player who could score, and then you have Boozer that was he could score 15 a night. But for the most part, you had Keith Bogans. What does Keith Bogans do besides defend? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Joakim Noah, he's not going to score.
Mm-hmm.
Todd Gibson was raw then, so he was just defense.
Mm-hmm.
But that was 2010. You can't win with that type of team in today's league, in today's era. So I knew it wouldn't bode well for the Knicks. So I don't think they choked. This is what it was. I mean, I think we should be happy just for the simple fact that, hey, they got this far and they made it to the playoffs. I think next year or in this free agency, if they get some players, then okay. If they go to the playoffs and they got a high price free agent and they lose like this, then they choke. But I don't think they choke. Atlanta was the better team coming in and even afterwards.
I agree with that, and I know that some people, and I appreciate Derek for coming through and shedding some more light on the conversation as well. But I think it's a combination of many things. You have New York that struggles with offense and don't really have the pieces and so forth like that to be able to put the ball inside of the basket. Want to play that bully ball style, don't necessarily go nearly as deep. Julius Randle not looking really that good. I know that he got sixth man of the year, or I'm sorry, a most improved player this year. Didn't really look like that very much. You saw flashes of that in this series, but didn't really see the large bulk of why he received and was the recipient of that award. Of course, Derrick Rose can only do so much to an extent, but I did think that guys like Emmanuel Quickly was going to be an X factor for this series. R.J. Barrett was also going to be an X factor for this series if he can hit jump shots and hit free throws down the stretch and different things like that. So definitely wanted to kind of jump in on that. We got another homie that jumped up in here as well from Twitter. Of course, you can be much like my dude Conway Twitty, man. My dude Twitty jumping up in here from Facebook. Of course, you know that you can always allow your voice to be heard here on this platform. So don't save it for the local barbershops and don't save it for the local sports bars. DeAndre Hunter was the difference on Randall. He didn't play against the Knicks in the regular season. I was going to say that too. I absolutely agree with that. That's obvious as well. And not only that, but also having to defend Derrick Rose in some situations. And the Hawks have been better defensively as well. So just kind of want to throw out a couple of those different things as we are kind of talking a little bit and recapping some of the games. Again, as you can see right here, the Atlanta Hawks fly high and send the Knicks as was promised by the man in the front court, Double C, Clint Capella, sending them on their way to vacation, 103-89. Atlanta advances on 4-1. I would not have called that by any stretch of the imagination. We'll now play Philadelphia going on later on this week or upcoming weekend. We'll find out when that exactly when it is that game one will be played. Again, just kind of ups to reset the room a little bit. My dude Raphael Haynes, owner from the 3-Point Conversion Media. Follow him on Twitter and on IG. You see the handle there at the bottom. Now let's go on over to, let's stay within the East Coast. Since we're already talking about Atlanta, we're already talking about who they're going to play up next. Let's talk about the Philadelphia 76ers, who take care of Wiz Biz 129-112 without Joe Embiid. Somewhat impressive to an extent, whether they're playing at home or not. Still get 129 points without Joe Embiid. That's a reason for anybody to be concerned. Philadelphia now wins that 4-1 as well, advancing on to play Atlanta. Give me some of your thoughts in regards to who Philadelphia is without Joe Embiid from what you've been able to see in this very small sample size. I mean, at some point they're gonna have to figure this thing out because he's injured or Ben Simmons is injured, or it took Ben Simmons after like 2 years to finally get on the court after he had been drafted and so forth. And they're the number one team in the East. It's well deserved. They added some pieces, added a coach. So of all of these things, how impressive is this win for them to close out a team in Washington that was trying to ascend a little bit? I don't think it would have been too crazy to me to see Washington maybe pull out a close victory tonight. We didn't come anywhere close to seeing something like that. So I just kind of want to get your take on what we will likely see and what we have seen from the Philadelphia 76ers in the playoffs thus far.
Well, they were built for this offseason. They have the perfect team for this situation, I believe. I mean, they're another team that was constructed very well. You have your shooters. You have Ben setting people up, his way to go downhill and create, whether he's going to score or create for others. The emergence of, and we all seen this in Tobias in LA. We knew he had it, even in Detroit, but the way he stepped up now is like, all right, I'm taking onus. This is what I do. Before it was just, okay, this guy's good. We weren't expecting this. Now this is what we're expecting, and he's doing it. Then you, like I said, you add the shooters with Seth Curry, but not just that. Danny Green, who also plays defense, but has that championship pedigree. Even with the Dwight Howard championship pedigree now, he won a championship last year. He knows what it's like to win a championship now.
Mm-hmm.
I think the person that people forget, the one player that people forget who really has that pedigree is George Hill, sitting there quietly, in Ben Simmons' ears, talking to the other people, talking to the young guys. That's why you see Maxey playing well. So this is a good team. And Doc said this, thank God I have the privilege of covering the Sixers, since the playoffs. And pregame, this is what Doc said. Doc said, somebody asked him, what do you expect? Or do you give them this motivation to tell them that they can win? How do you feel? He's like, I don't have to tell them that. I told him this in the middle of the season when Ben went down the first time. Not Ben, but Joel.
But Joel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he said, I told him, look, this is your time right now to get ready. This is going to prepare you in the playoffs. He said, now, I didn't think Joel was going to get hurt. I didn't think that, but I was just saying this is going, if he fouls out or he's in foul trouble, then this is, you'll be built for this. I didn't think it was going to be like this. But at the same time, I told him back then, this situation now, when he said in the middle of the season that it's going to prepare you for later on, which it did. And you see how they came out and played. Seth stepped up. They played defense. So this team is all right. Now, if Embiid doesn't come back, man, it's going to be hard to see them advance to the finals or whatever. But we don't know if he comes back. But for right now, they have a chance with that team they have.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned Maxey and Curry, who dropped like 30 tonight of all numbers. Of course, a Curry would drop 30. But outside of that, just looking at some of the other pieces around them that they have, Tobias Harris, like you alluded to before, probably going to be one of the biggest X factors in the series and just for this team in general, despite how far that they end up going. There's obviously a really big loss. I'm not sure when Joe Embiid is going to be coming back, but that could propose some really huge problems for the front court for Atlanta going forward. And now that Atlanta has added an extra piece in Clint Capella to the front court, and I don't know if we'll see, maybe I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen Bruno Fernando get in there, get kind of physical, rough it up a little bit, pick up some fouls just to go in there and be a body to give some other guys a little bit of a water break with a Gatorade towel over their head. But I don't want to do too much of previewing Atlanta and Philly. But I'm not sure when we're going to get a chance to get you back on here. So what I do want to ask you before we go on to the next bundle of games that were played on today, the next two, because we don't have a lot of time within the next 10 minutes or so, but give me maybe who you believe the winner with Joe Embiid and without Joe Embiid. Let's just say they got Embiid for potentially all 7 games. and they don't have Joe Embiid for potentially all 7 games, or anything in between, who do you have winning that series and in how many games?
Man, because you watched the Hawks play in this playoffs and the way they played against this great defensive team in New York and how they've come together. They played well defensively and offensively. So it's hard to, even with Embiid, but my gut is telling me I still see Atlanta losing, Philly winning, and 5 games. I say 5 games, maybe six if Embiid is playing. Just for the simple fact, you have no answer for Embiid, like you stated already. I mean, as great as Capella is defensively, he's no match for Embiid because the one thing that makes it hard for Capella to guard Embiid is the fact that Embiid can beat you outside, he can beat you inside, he can post up, the moves, the jumper. So Capella's always going to be on his heels, no matter what, on his tippy toes, because he doesn't know. It's so many moves that Embiid has, so many go-to moves, and just the way he can beat them. So you're going to have to draw a double team. What center has Atlanta played, or will they play in the East that would draw a double team? I can't think of none now. So this is the only team. This is why they struggle with them, because he draws a double team. Now it breaks down the defense. Now you have shooters. You still have Ben Simmons getting the ball going downhill. It's just hard to guard them. Now, if he doesn't play, yes, Atlanta has a chance. Here's the thing, though. I feel like experience will kick in, because you look at all of these teams. New York doesn't have experience except for Taj and Derrick Rose, essentially, basically. But with Philly, we mentioned Danny Green. We just talking about championships now. Danny Green, Dwight Howard, George Hill. Then you go to Tobias. He's played in the playoffs. You look at Seth. He's been in the playoffs. Who am I missing? Of course, Ben Simmons. So you have all of this experience with an experienced coach. I just still think they have the edge. Now, it's not to say that the Hawks don't have a chance, but I think now it might go 7, 6 or 7. But it's got to go 6. I believe if it goes 7, I think the Hawks can win it.
I was gonna say too that I see Derek had even mentioned something on here about Matisse Thybulle in one of those comments, and that's going to
Yeah,
be a huge piece too, because I'm not so sure people like, oh well, Ben Simmons is front runner for Defensive Player of the Year award and putting him on Trey, and while that might or might not work, I don't know, because if you don't have Embiid, then you're going to be pretty much relying on Ben Simmons to be your primary offender and defender. You might want to put
nice.
Thybulle on
Yeah,
Trey Young. But I don't want to give them any ideas necessarily, but I just want to kind of throw that piece out there. I'm one that believes, listen, it's very simple. If the Hawks want to win this series, you definitely have to take advantage of the games that Philly won't have Embiid in the event that they won't have Embiid. And on top of that, so not only take advantage and keep your foot on the gas pedal, but continue to have a chip on your shoulder. And they know that not a lot of people are giving them chances and believing in them. But even more so on top of that is to essentially they have to win this series in 6. The Hawks do. I think if it goes 7 games, I'm not sure that the Hawks can do that. If they want to do it, they got to win it in 6, and I think it's doable. I mean, listen, people could say, "Well, Philly is this, Philly is that," but Philly has not proven anything in the playoffs either. They are what? How many steps away from having to decide if they're going to break up for last however many years it's been, and depending on how patient that we're going to be between Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. And so, I'm obviously not saying that the Atlanta Hawks are going to do it. The front runner right now is, for obvious reasons, is going to be the Philadelphia 76ers. However, over the course of the last 365, well, plus the leap year, so anywhere between last year or two, 700 and some odd days, we've seen crazier things happen than just maybe the Atlanta Hawks upsetting the Philadelphia 76ers, who don't have the most experience in all of the NBA, although they do have more than the Atlanta Hawks. I want to move on now to,
Can I say one more
yeah,
thing?
absolutely. Go for it.
Because I want your opinion.
Sure.
With that Knicks series, the Hawks dominated the Knicks, right? They only lost. I don't know if I was talking to you about this, but they've only lost what, a
Couple
quarter,
quarters,
2 quarters,
quarter and a
maybe
half. Yep,
something
two
like that, right?
quarters. Mhm.
But we haven't seen the Hawks deal with adversity as far as just they flat out beat us this game.
Mhm.
What can we do? So if you play this Philly team with or without Embiid, and say game one they beat the Hawks by 16, I want to see how the Hawks respond,
Mhm.
because then I want to see how Nate responds, but just the team in general, because they've been on a high. And even when they lost that game in what was it, game two? Still, it
Mhm.
was all right. They was like, all right, we dominant. We were up 16 to 18 already, and they came back. They sat Trey down too long. Okay, we know we could beat them. That's how the
Mhm.
Hawks are feeling. But if the 76ers come in and they're beating them down and they're winning by 10 or more and convincingly, that's what I want to see with this Hawks team. Can they come over this adversity? How will they respond? Will their confidence be shot? Because remember, this is a lot of young players on this team. So I think that's the question. And I guess I want to know, do you feel like if that happens, do you feel like they can bounce back?
I think they can. I think they can find a way to split in Philly. I think one of the other questions is of course they're going to get rest, and I know they're pros and so forth. But listen, when you're playing up against a team like New York, who was just trying to play bully ball and extreme physicality right out the gate the whole time, and you thought the fans was on your ass in Madison Square Garden, I can't believe that it's going to get much better when you go and meet over with the Philly fans coming right out the gate for the first two games. And we'll see if Trey's going to be taking a bow or not once we get to that point. And that boy is a super stupid fool for that one on tonight. But hey, listen, for good reason. Listen, when you talk your noise and you back it up, and people spitting on you and all that other kind of stuff, I can't be mad at it. You go in there, you take care of business, and he did exactly that. It's not going to be too much of a drop off going to Philly as much as some people might think that it is. Um, I want to throw this out there real quick because as we get ready to transition over to the second half of the show where we're going to essentially recap the other games, I want to throw this out there because I want to make sure that everybody knows that we got to make sure that we are that the bills are getting paid and so forth. So I got to make sure that I throw this piece out there as well. Top right hand corner, boom, boom, boom. There it is. So. Typically, it's called quick release. It won't really be quick release, but this particular part of the show, sponsored and powered by Exotics by Curtis Smith. Look good, feel good, play great. Great gifts for grooming. It is essentially grooming products for men as it is for women. But essentially very good for, listen, Father's Day is coming up, birthdays is coming up, graduations, the whole nine. Exoticsproducts.com is where you can get the products, all 110% natural with no chemicals added, but not before you get to the checkout. And then that little discount code right there, click on it, put in Tate's Take, and get yourself 15% off. Now, going forward, I wanted to make sure I threw this out there because here's one of the other games that we had to look forward to on the night that got pretty interesting. There was another closeout game where somebody won 4-1. Utah getting jazzy, I guess you could say, takes care of the Grizz 126-110. Close out the young dogs. Utah wins 4-1, advances to play the winner of Dallas and the Los Angeles Clippers, whomever in the heck even thinks about if they even want to win that series. At this point, all the road teams have won that series, so I'm starting to think that who has the home court advantage? The Clippers. So I'm starting to think that it's probably going to be Dallas because nobody can seem to win at home for whatever reason. With that being said, Memphis gave it a good run. Memphis reminds me of, just kind of one of those young teams, kind of like in the position that Atlanta was once in at one point in time. Maybe when people had high expectations for Atlanta about a year ago because they were young and people was like, oh, they're putting together a roster to start. And they were, I mean, people were probably a year too early. I'm kind of under that similar impression of when it comes to these young boys with the Memphis Grizzlies, and even putting out Steph Curry and who was an MVP candidate at that time, obviously, and a team that's really hard to beat out, Klay Thompson or no Klay Thompson, because you still have really good pieces there in Golden State as well. Some of your takeaways, really briefly, for the Utah series up against Memphis, because listen, I mean, Donovan Mitchell is back now, starting to kind of go off. He's clearly the difference maker because they dropped the one game without him. Rudy Gobert on the defensive end, obviously. You got Jordan Clarkson, who is the Sixth Man of the Year award. Joe Ingles was right there in that same conversation as well. So they've definitely got some pieces scoring and all that good stuff. What are some of the things that you're seeing as they start getting prepared to await the winner from Dallas and the Clippers?
Utah is, I guess they are. You know who they remind me of, honestly? To be honest, and I'm not saying as far as just personnel wise or how great they are, but this Utah team reminds me of, was it the 2000? What was the first year Golden State went to the championship? Was that 12, 13? I mean,
I
15.
feel like it was in that
15,
range of
15 I think.
15, I think. I feel
Something like
like
that.
something like that
This
sounds
is the
about
reason
right.
why I say that. So remember that year with Golden State, and well, let me speak for myself. I know a lot of people thought this also, but I'm gonna speak for myself. Golden State, they started the year hot. They were winning. Remember, it was between them and the Hawks. They kept winning. They kept winning,
Mm-hmm.
and then they were winning by these threes. All of a sudden, Steph Curry shooting all these threes.
That's right. That was 2015 because I think that was the year that the Hawks had the 60
Right,
win season.
right. So we saw this team with Golden State, this young team out of nowhere,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, all right, I say the first 30 games, they can't be hot the whole season. So they're gonna drop off. Half the games played. Okay, they balling, but they're not gonna shoot like this for the whole season. 3/4 of the season. Hey man, they good. I don't know. And then by the end of the season, it's like, nah, they can't go through the playoffs, man, shooting like this. And what did they do? Now, finals, they got kind of cold, but they beat a Cleveland team. Kyrie got hurt, and Kevin Love went there, but still, Utah is like that in the sense of during the season, like Utah's not this good. You know what I'm saying? Like they shooting all these threes, they're not this good. They can't shoot like this the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
This is their identity. This is what they do. And now, when Mitchell came back, you see Bogdanovich, the way he does. Your boy Ingles, who was tough and gritty. Of course, we know what the big man's going to do. I love Clarkson off the bench.
Me too. Me too.
This team just has firepower, and they believe they can win. And I don't know, man. They might be that Golden State team. I mean, I didn't think Golden State could win that year because they don't have experience. Who are these little young Thundercats coming out here? This is what
it's okay. You can go ahead and say it, young light skinned boys. You can go ahead and say it, bro. I give you a pass. I give you a pass. It's okay. I ain't got to fill out a permission slip for you.
So, but no, I just think that they're better than most people think they are. Now with Memphis, like you stated, Memphis they gave a fight, man. They fought. I know. You mentioned the Atlanta Hawks. Who they remind me of is the other Memphis team, Grizzly teams, with the young Conley. With
Zach Randolph, maybe some of those guys.
Yeah, no, because they were young, they were raw, and
energetic.
They weren't as skilled as you would think they are. And to me, this Memphis team is not like that. You have Ja, but you don't look at a Dylan Brooks just with the naked eye. So this guy can play, but this guy can play. He wants it.
He can play.
What's Slow Mo name? I can't think of Slow Mo's name. From San Antonio, the guy that moves like a sloth when he shoots. I was
about to say which one? Ginobili?
No, for Memphis.
Oh, for Memphis.
I can't think of his name. Y'all help me out. I know y'all know I'm talking about.
At that time, that Memphis
No,
team,
this Memphis team that shoots real slow. Everything he does is slow.
Dylan Brooks.
No, the other, I cannot think of his name right now. But he played for San Antonio. He came from San Antonio. I cannot think of his name, but you will get it before.
Kyle
Kyle,
Anderson.
yeah, Anderson.
Appreciate you, D.
Thanks, D. That dude's so slow. I mean, everything he like a sloth, but he's effective. Like they want it. You know what I'm saying? And then Valanciunas, man, I think that dude, he's trying to become one of my favorite players, bro. The way he plays, so old school, grinding, rebound. So it reminds me of that old Memphis team. I just think they're probably more talented. So, but of course, we saw a lot of injuries with that team. But I think with this team, we might be starting to see something now. But back to Utah, I think they might be the best team in the West.
Yeah, and I mean they're sitting there at the top of the list because they are the number one seed, and you know, I don't know who it favored more, if anybody, that Memphis had to play a series first. You can either look at that like, were they tired? I'm not really much of a believer in that. Or could it be like, hey, even if they weren't as well rested, maybe Utah was a little too well rested, and the Grizzlies had an opportunity to get their legs from up under them first. So I don't know, however you want to look at it, but nonetheless, Memphis is on their way back home. Utah is advancing, and it's no question that they obviously have a really, really good team. But we will have to just wait, see, find out exactly if all that talk about them throughout the regular season about like, are they for real? Because I'm not sure. I'm under the impression that a lot of people, while they were doing and as dominant as they were, especially at the beginning of the season, that people were really taking them as serious as they should. Like they kept winning and 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 kept winning. And then it's like, but I don't know if I believe in them like that for
Right.
real just yet. You know what I mean? Like, and it's always still going to be Utah at the end of the day to
Right.
some extent, you
But
know. So
that's
we don't like to judge it like that, but if
right.
we just keeping it a buck, it's still like Utah, and it's hard to put some of that stock into them. And trust me, I've listen. We got to get Terrell Thomas back on here because me and Terrell Thomas been out to Salt Lake City, Utah, and I say this on my podcast. Faithfully, religiously, daily, I will be a-okay if I never have to go back to Salt Lake City, Utah again. I know you was about to say something real quick. I'm gonna let you go ahead and jump in before we go to the next game, the very last game of the night to recap, the one we most recently saw, and then we're going to
right.
conclude.
I was gonna say that no, just basically what you said. You kept saying they kept winning and winning and winning. We don't believe that was Golden State in 15. Remember, what has Golden State done in our lifetime besides beat Dallas, you know, and we believe that was it. So they kept winning. They playing this style. These young kids, you're like Golden State, really? Then it can't be not a household name. I'm not saying Utah's gonna be like that, but this why I
No doubt.
compare them to Golden State, Utah. I compare them to Golden State because it's the same feelings. Like I don't know, I just can't believe it. It don't seem right. So
Yeah, it ain't sitting right. It ain't sitting right with my boy. One again, that was 126, 110, advancing on to take on the winner of who we're getting ready to talk about next. And that would be none other than boom, boom, boom. Where are they? I thought I had you up here somewhere. Apparently, I don't. Okay. Um, but oh, there they go. Mavs. The Clippers. 105 to 100. Game was super tight, man. Nobody apparently wants to win on their home floor. First two games goes to Dallas in LA. The second two games goes to LA in Dallas. And then now this game for game five goes back to LA where Dallas wins. If I was a betting man, I already feel like this thing is going to go six. If I'm a betting man, I'm probably going to take the Clippers when they return back to Dallas. And if not, there's going to be some huge problems because as much as everybody was talking about, Doc Rivers and the 3-1 deficit from last year and this and that and blah, 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 they probably wish they might have had Doc Rivers right about now. And as soon as we start to believe in the Los Angeles Clippers, after they dropped those first two games, after we seen those next two, it's like, all right, now I believe that. something still told me not so fast, despite Luka being injured or not, because I think it's becoming relevant and apparent to me at this point that the Clippers have the better talent. Nobody's questioning that. I'm kind of sensing though that Dallas has the better team. And it's really going to be based off of whether the chemistry with the Clippers and the talent with the Clippers shows up in this series or not when it's supposed to. I'm not sure that's going to happen. A lot of guys still have chips on their shoulder. I know that Paul George still has a chip on his shoulder about hitting the side of the backboard in the series in the game last year when they were playing and things didn't really go their way. Then of course, Dallas has a chip on their shoulder because this is the exact same team who last year put them out in the playoffs in the first round at that time as well. So Luca's obviously looked good, been dominant. A lot of his things develop or rely on the health of him. Porzingis, I think, is an X factor for this particular series. And not that this guy is very important, but Boban Marjanovic. I just like that dude in general. I think everybody loves Boban. What is your take, though, Mr. Controversy, before we get ready to conclude and jump up out of here?
Well, it's all about adjustments. I don't know. I know you mentioned Doc. I wonder if Doc would have made this adjustment or not. Here's the adjustment. Does he have? We're gonna be candid. Does he have the balls to make this adjustment? I'm talking about Ty Lue. Put Rondo in at point guard and start him. We saw what Tibbs did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Rondo has enough. He probably do. And you don't necessarily have to play him 35 minutes. But if you start him, you have to change your scheme anyway if you start him. Here's the thing. Playing against a Dallas team, the way that the Clippers play, it doesn't really work against them. The reason why I say that is because there's no cohesiveness. It's one man, PG come up, he dribble. For the most part, he gonna handle the rock, drive. If he can't get to the hole or he don't shoot the three, he's gonna dish it out. Okay, then the ball might swing, or vice versa. It's gonna be like that with Kawhi. But you really don't have a structure. You really don't have an offensive set. It's almost like how I used to be with OKC. If Durant had the ball, Durant bring it up, he's gonna do what he does. If Westbrook grab a rebound, it's gonna be his shot. That's how they used to play. Mm-hmm. That doesn't work against Dallas. And for some reason, maybe it's because of last year, Luka Doncic. You know how every player has that team where no matter what, I'm gonna kill y'all. Mm-hmm. And right now, it might be Trey against New York, but Luka's team is Clippers. They can't stop. I don't care if it's Kawhi. I don't care if it's Bev, PG, Quinn.
Whoever.
Everybody.
Rondo. Yeah.
He's confident. So right now, like you said, Clippers have the better talent, but I think just the game plan, the Mavericks game plan boats better than the Clippers do against Dallas. And Ty's he's got to have some balls and make this adjustment. True enough, they won two. I get it. And tonight was that night where it was close. It was probably the first game of the series. You know what I'm saying? It was game 5. It was close. It came down to the end. But I just feel like Kawhi took that bad shot at the end when they were down 3 late in the game. I just don't. He's gonna have to make a decision. I believe right now. This is why you picked up Rondo. Put Rondo in the starting lineup. We've seen it work. When Chicago, and I'm finished. But when Chicago in 16 and 17, when he's with the Bulls, they inserted him in the starting lineup. They were up 3-0, I think, 2-0 on Boston, and then he got hurt the second game of at the end of the second game of that series. And then, of course, Boston came back and beat him. But if Rondo would have got hurt, they would have won. In New Orleans, he was coming off the bench. They inserted him for the playoffs. Mm-hmm. What they do, they mess around and win in the first round. So put him in, man. Follow history. Put Rondo in, start him. Let him run this offense. Because one thing I like that he did when Kawhi took that bad shot, he went up to Kawhi and looked at him like, bro, what you doing?
What you doing? Yeah.
What you doing, dog? And
Yeah.
what, I'm not talking about the, hey, man, what would you think? No, dog, what you doing?
What are you
Like,
doing?
put him in the starting lineup. Let him run that team. That's all I got to say.
No, that's my dude. Coach controversy right there, Raphael Haynes. And I tell you what, if this thing, hopefully this thing for the Clippers doesn't come down to a coaching matchup, because I like that brother over there on the sideline, walking the sidelines for the Mavericks that kind of look like Jim Carrey a little bit, to to win that matchup personally, because I mean we're talking about a guy who also has a championship himself.
Right.
So I think, what is this? The battle of the one championship apiece
Mm-hmm.
teams, if I'm not mistaken. I
Yep.
think. I'm not sure if he was the head coach of Dallas for
No.
their first one or not. I guess just the second one, I would suppose, right?
Wait, they only won one.
Did they only win one?
It was, yeah, but
Okay, yeah. What was that?
yeah,
2000? Not
Avery was the
six.
coach.
That's right. They
Avery
lost
was the coach when they lost to Miami the first year.
in 2006.
And
That is
Carlisle won.
correct.
Yeah.
Everything's starting to run together once we start
Right.
getting
It does.
to this time, especially when we start getting towards this time of the night, man. This is that old BET uncut hours right here, if you can remember that, man. Let me just throw this back out there as we get ready to conclude out there, man. I will say this much, as you know, is going to conclude this part of the show. Again, I want to make sure that I mention this one more time for the folks. Sponsored and powered by Exotics Products. Exotics by Curtis Smith. Look good, feel good, play great. Give your skin what it deserves, finally. We're not just sitting around here woofing and talking about supporting black businesses and so forth. We actually doing it over here on our side. So exoticsproducts.com. Be like us. Be like us. Make sure at the checkout you go to hit that discount code Tate's Take. Get you 15% off. Tate's Take. TATES And per usual, I want to make sure that I give a huge thanks to my dude, man, Raphael Haynes, again, owner of 3 Point Conversion Media. Do yourself a huge favor and go and follow him on Twitter as well as on IG. Mr. Controversy 21. Saturday mornings on
Saturday morning.
WWWE 1100 a.m. in Atlanta.
And iHeartRadio as well. Yep. 10 a.m. Also, if you want to hear the podcast version, when I say podcast, like you want to go back and hear it, just go to the 3 Point Conversion. Remember, it's the 3 Point Conversion and radio station on iHeart. We got a radio station on iHeartRadio, and you can listen to the episode as well. So check out YouTube, Twitter. Just look up the 3 Point Conversion, and and the 3pointconversion.com. But hey, real quick with that supporting team, with that support, what you were saying, support and everything, my people. When we say support, that doesn't mean, hey, you're doing a good job, man. Good job. No, support means go buy it, go watch it, whatever. That's support. Support is not just, hey, man, I support you, man. You're doing your thing. Good. That's not supporting. That's not supporting.
Nah, I'm glad that you said that.
Right.
I'm glad that you were the one that said it and I wasn't the one that said it.
Right. That's it.
But definitely the most important thing at this point is that you had the chance to come on and you making sure that your schedule was flexible, coming through and showing some love, whatnot, and supporting in your way. Being here and just kicking some knowledge around and just blessing us with your presence and gracing us with it as well. So I do appreciate you for doing that much.
Hey, man, I'm just finally glad I was on here, man. I was getting worried, man. I was looking at my watch like, maybe I won't be on his show. I don't know. I don't want to ask, but I was kidding. No, man, it's always an honor, man. I love your show, man. You know, always watching the share. When I can watch, I watch. But, I'm a share. Make sure, support. You know what I'm saying? But, no, great show, man. Proud of you, bruh.
No, no doubt. I appreciate you more than anything. And again, people, y'all never know who you're gonna get on this show. So 15 minutes. We do this, we're gonna do this every night. Every time there's a playoff game on, whether there's one a night, whether there's five of them a night, however many, 15 minutes after the final playoff game of the night concludes, we're going to go live. We're going to do this Facebook, Twitch, you name it, YouTube, the whole nine, Periscope, you name it. We're coming on and we're recapping every single game from that night for the remainder of the playoffs. So again, appreciate you guys. Remember, subscribe uh, um, to what we like to call the best, the most entertaining, the most informational, and the most educational basketball content on the planet in the form of a podcast. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your mama, tell your grandmama, tell your baby mama at Take Hoops, TakeHoops, hashtag where basketball lives. See y'all somewhere around about 24 hours or so. Bye.